We have simple answers to complex questions of which we only have a simple view of, and sometimes a mistaken view because of the data or the information that's been available to us. And other people in their simple view equally have a simple solution, and it's not the same as ours. And each wants to defend their view because in some sense their view is the most attractive to them. And after all, neither of you really know what you're talking about. We don't have full information by any means. So we end up at odds with each other. And really, what's the mistake? Well, fundamentally, to think that we can reliably come up with the answers, and to not realize too that we tend to want to come up with our answers, and that's according to our values, which are not the same as other people's necessarily by any means. On a particular issue, it might be overall in that we all like to avoid pain and suffering, and we all want life and joy and peace and so forth. But on the specific issues, we have different preferences. We're expressing different values in some sense. And we can be at war to no point. Whereas if we were mindful of God in the situation, we would rather be thinking, well, I wonder why God's allowing this. It must be to good. He's an all-powerful God, and He's all-loving. Let us suppose that's our view. We may be confronted individually with others that do not have our values and opinions. Well, that's not a problem, is it? I mean, God is allowing such for their individualism and their path, in our view. So we're not wanting to be anxious to change their views. God has it in hand. We are just here to observe and learn and be blessed by the situation that God has led us to. Do you see? I'm not here to change the world. I'm here to be a blessing where the world wants to be blessed. But if I try and force upon it my view of what is a blessing, well, that's going to cause havoc. So I back off and live in peace compared to living at war. When we become mindless of God, we walk into these arguments and divisions and contentious issues. Whereas when I am mindful of my God, that doesn't happen. How lovely. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Well, example, I might suppose and do that organisations are a great vexation of spirit, and therefore I avoid belonging to such in general. It seems inevitable to me that there will be conflict from what I've experienced of organisations. Now, you might well think, well, it can certainly cause conflict, but there's a lot of good things that come out of organisations, and on balance, it's worth doing. It's what living is. And you might think that not belonging to organisations is extremely lonely, and lack of that sort of social interaction is not living. It's not what you want. Do you see? It's not that I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong, or we're both right or we're both wrong. It's a case of how we're looking at it and what our values are. And much of how we're looking at it is, of course, with a great shortage of valid information on decision-making about such. In some sense, then, I would like it that you're able to join organisations. They exist for you. And I don't have to join organisations and can live accordingly. I might have in mind that I'm sure you'd be much happier and safer if you didn't belong to organisations. But you won't appreciate it if I press such on you. Because probably you will still be longing for belonging to such organisations. Because you are you, individual. We're different. We have fundamental things in common, as we've said. But that may not be enough to be in harmony with just one way of life or just the other. And the great advantage of, as I see it, being here in this world, material world, is that we have a tremendous amount of choice. And contrary to what religions would seem to value, God doesn't constantly correct us and insist, and He may insist by circumstances that He's arranging, of course, but He doesn't press us verbally. One or two people have had words from God, of course, at particularly crucial times in their life, may have said, they feel God said to them, this is your last chance. oh, goodness. That sounds a strict parent that they have. But anyway, that's how they feel. But even so, in general, they don't get God speaking to them, as an ongoing running commentary during the day and every day. We're free in enormous measure. The only thing we're not free from is the range of the choice we get. And some people would like to restrict our range. Others are quite happy for us to have an extension of the range, even. So living here is a wonderful opportunity, and we would be much blessed, I think, if we thanked God for such. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.